The topic today is how to make cold calling easy. There's plenty of tips on how to improve cold calling or books written on how to improve cold calling and sales training programs out there, and I've read a bunch of them and I've been through a bunch of them. And what I would tell you is that there's a lot of stuff out there that's trickery and manipulation. So it's sort of like how, yes, cold calling is difficult, and we'll admit that here today. And the other programs will try to use tricks to make your cold calls work, or tricks to get people to stay on the phone with you, or ways to sort of manipulate the situation. I personally believe that trickery and manipulation is not great for a couple reasons. One is, first of all, to learn, for someone to teach you a bunch of tricks, that's a little bit difficult for you to do. If it's not a natural way to sell, if it's not your natural personality, and someone's trying to get you to do all this other shifty stuff, it can be difficult to learn, difficult to adopt. The other thing is that what might work for one person, and let me give you an example. In a training program I've gone through, in a certain situation, they said, say this one line as a joke, as a response. And while that might work great for the company that developed that trick or that sales trainer, it depends on someone's delivery. It depends on someone's personality. So when tricks might work for one person, they might not work for you. The other thing about trickery and manipulation is that you're trying to sell to this person, build a relationship, get your foot in the door of an account. So if you're having to use tricks, that's probably not good on building a relationship. If you trick your way into someone staying on the phone with you or someone accepting a meeting, that's probably not going to head in the right direction. A lot of other stuff out there that you'll see is very pushy, very aggressive, very specifically in the area of cold calling, trying to push someone to stay on the phone with you. And a lot of books that I've read in the area of cold calling, it's all fluff. So it might talk to you about, and I kind of labeled this stuff as sort of the Nike just go do it. It's go out there, work hard, be tough, make a bunch of calls, you can do it. And that's great stuff, and sometimes you need to hear that stuff, but that doesn't tell you what to do. And so what I'm going to share with you today is none of that stuff. Our approach is it's all about getting you to communicate effectively, and more importantly, getting you to communicate efficiently, which that might not make sense when you hear, why do I need to communicate efficiently? But the thing is that when you're cold calling, you have to be very quick. You only have a little limited amount of time, so efficiently is very important. We're going to teach you an approach that's not pushy or aggressive. It's very professional. It's more consultative. And regardless of how experienced or inexperienced you are, what skills you have or what personality you have, the methodology we'll show you today will fit with you. Anybody can use this. Even someone that has zero sales experience, probably someone with zero sales experience, probably could use this methodology better because they don't have any of those bad habits. And while the other stuff might not really tell you exactly what to do, we're going to tell you exactly what to do. If this process will tell you exactly what to do in almost all different cold calling situations, which might actually seem, well, too good to be true, but that's what we're going to do. So before we get started, let's just lay out why cold calling is so difficult. And it's very challenging. It's for a few reasons. One is we just can assume that the prospects we're calling are busy, and that there's not much that needs to be said there, but that's a pretty safe assumption. The other thing is that the prospects that we call to get a lot of cold calls from other salespeople that might sell the same thing you sell, and from salespeople that sell something that you have nothing to do with. If you're calling decision makers, they have a lot of salespeople calling them. And because a lot of salespeople are calling the people you're trying to reach, when you do reach them, they're going to be a bit guarded. It's like, kind of going out on a date with someone who's been treated bad by other people. Well, they're going to be very guarded, and that's going to put you in a challenging situation, even knowing you haven't treated anyone badly. So that's just a challenge that you have to deal with. The other thing that's very difficult about cold calling is you have so much information that you want to share with the prospect. And this gets even worse when you're in technology sales or software. I recall going through like hours long of product training in the software industry, and then I had to go get on the phone and generate leads, and you're given training over a period of hours, and then you have 2 minutes to talk to a prospect, and you have to you know that there's all this great stuff about your product, but how do you share that over a cold call? And that's difficult because you only have, like I said, you only have a couple minutes, so that compounds that challenge of having so much information to share. And with all of that being said, when you do make a cold call and you get a prospect on the phone, odds are they are not sitting there in buying mode for what you sell. They're not sitting there in their office thinking, I need product X, and then you sell product X and you call them up and they think, oh great, I was just wanting to buy this. Not to say they don't need product X. They either, well, the fact of the matter is they may need product X, but they aren't thinking that right now. But what really happens more often than not is that they don't think they need product X, and there's a very good chance that they do. So the easiest way to kind of describe that challenge is that they're not in buying mode for what you sell when you get them on the phone. Those are the challenges we face. There's another challenge here that we could put, which is prospects just don't answer the phone, and it's difficult to get prospects on the phone. And that's probably one of the biggest challenges with cold calling. But we're not gonna deal with that challenge here today. The focus here today is what to do once the prospect answers the phone and making that easy. Working through the challenges of getting the prospect on the phone is a whole nother topic, and we've actually provided webinars and training on that topic, so you should find tips in some of our other materials. But if we agree that that's what makes cold calling challenging, more or less, maybe you could add something, but if that's a pretty good list, then if I can take you through a process that decreases each of those challenges or mitigates each of those challenges, could we agree that what I'm showing you will make cold calling easy? That's the topic here today, how to make cold calling easy. Well, the way that we're going to go about that is by decreasing all of these challenges that are right here one by one. So let's go through that, and that's kind of our agenda here today. So we'll start with the fact that prospects are busy. And if we assume that the prospects are busy when they answer the phone, I want to give you just a very direct tactic to deal with that one challenge with them answering the phone when they're busy. And this deals with how you sort of open the call. And so if I have a language here, what a lot of people often do is when someone answers the phone, they might say something like, "Hi Mary, this is Michael Halper from SalesScripter," and they might say something like, "How are you doing today?" And what I would say is, don't ask that, because first of all, that begins to waste their time even more. The prospect is busy and you're asking them how they're doing. They don't know you, you don't know them. It's a very empty gesture. You're starting to sound like a salesperson and you're going to start to annoy them. So I would say, don't ask them how they're doing. I would also say, a lot of salespeople will say, "Hey, is this a good time to talk?" Or they'll say, "Is this a bad time to talk?" That I wouldn't do that either, and I'll explain why. Don't say, "Are you busy right now?" Don't say, "Do you have a minute to talk?" And the reasons why I wouldn't do any of those things is that those are questions that salespeople ask, and so we don't want you to sound like a salesperson because your prospects are getting called by so many salespeople. So don't ask any of those questions. And another reason why some of those are bad is that it's a very weak frame of mind for you to present yourself with when you're talking to someone. When you say, "Are you busy right now?" it's like you don't see value in what you have to offer. If you had a bag of $1 million and you were trying to find that someone lost, and you were trying to find the owner of the $1 million, would you walk up to them and say, "Hi, I'm sorry, I know you're busy. I'll be very brief and I won't try to bother you too much"? Would you say that? No, you wouldn't. You would say, "Oh my gosh, you might want to sit down for this because I have something you're probably going to there's a good chance you're going to be interested in." You would come at it from a very different, a much more confident angle. So what I would replace any of those questions with is the simple question of, have I caught you in the middle of anything? And this serves a few purposes. This deals with the fact that the prospect, we know that the prospect is busy, so we want to determine how busy are they. Are they normal busy, which means we can talk to them for 2 to 5 minutes, or are they busy to where there's someone sitting in their office and we don't want to try to move forward with the call? This one question really sub-communicates a lot to the prospect. It's going to tell them we respect them and we respect their time. This question, if they say yes, by the way, you're going to get 3 answers from this prospect in this situation. They're going to say, yes, I am. And they're going to say, no, I'm not. Or they're going to say, well, what do you have? What do you need? And so the second and third response there go in the same direction, which is you move forward with the call. If they say yes, then you have a response of, oh, well, I can be very brief, or I can call you back at another time. Which do you prefer? And you're beginning to move forward with their permission. The other thing that's really powerful about this is that it's very casual and friendly language. Like if you work in an office environment, this is the type of question that your coworker would ask you. This isn't the type of question that a salesperson would ask you. So it can be very disarming to a prospect. Just test it out. I get feedback from people that they hate that question. They don't want to ask that or anything. And if you don't like that, then that's fine. We've run a call center with making tens of thousands of calls and done tremendous call monitoring with almost every rep asking that question on every call. And it's amazing how much it establishes calls and establishes this disarming effect. So try it out. Moving on to the next challenge, and we'll actually address 2 challenges at once. And one is that prospects get a lot of sales calls, and that the prospects are a bit guarded when they answer your call because they get a lot of sales calls. So let's go through that. Now, the reality is that when the prospect answers your phone, and if they don't know who you are, they're going to answer the phone with their guard at a medium level. They're trying to figure out who you are. They're trying to figure out if they need to stay on the phone with you or if they should get rid of you. So everything you do and say from that moment on is going to increase or decrease the guardedness. For example, when you say, how are you doing today? Then the guardedness is going to increase because you're going to start to sound like a salesperson. They're going to go, oh, geez, I should have let this one go to voicemail. So they're going to become a bit guarded. Whereas if you say, hey, have I caught you in the middle of anything? Maybe their guard doesn't decrease. Although it's kind of weird with that question, it actually does. I'd love for you to test it out, because it's amazing how people often say, no, what do you got? And so the guardedness may decrease a lot of the time, but the guardedness will not increase when you ask that type of question. So what I'm trying to say there is that if we can at least not create more guardedness, where someone's wanting to get off the phone with us, if we can at least just keep the guardedness at a medium level, then that's progress. If we can do certain things to make them less guarded, well, then that's bonus. So one thing that is, I think, really critical to not increase more guardedness is to do everything you can to not sound like a salesperson trying to sell something. You may think that I have a great product, I need to hit my quota, my job is to sell, they're my prospect, they're in my territory, my boss gave me a list with their name on it, they should take my call, they need to buy my product. You might think you're entitled to have a meeting with them. It's just easy for a salesperson to really see things as, I'm going to push, and sell, always be closing. But the reality is like I said, if you were the only person calling your prospect, you could maybe do that. But since there's just so much noise in the environment, and the way to deal with that is to not sound like one of those other salespeople. And there's ways to do this. And the methodology we'll show you here today will help you with this. But some small things that you can do is don't ask them in a cheesy, salesy way how they're doing today. Don't talk too much about your product or your company or your features. And you don't have to manipulate the situation or misrepresent who you are, because since you are a salesperson and you do have something to sell, you can still present yourself as a business person representing a product or a company, or you can present yourself in more a consultative way or more of an advisor that still has a product to sell, but you're not just a cheesy, pushy, annoying salesperson that is just next in line with all the other people that are trying to reach that decision maker. What we'll show you here today will definitely help you to do this. This is kind of a trick, but it's not real trickery or manipulation, because I would classify this more as just communicating professionally, quite honestly. And it's a tactic that I think that really decreases guardedness, because remember that we're still dealing with that challenge of prospects answering the phone with a bit of a level of guardedness. And so in the early part of your call script when you're cold calling is to do what we call a soft disqualify. So a full disqualify would be to say, oh, you know what, you're probably not ready, or you're not a fit for what I sell, so I'll let you go about your day. Have a great day. That's like a full disqualification. You don't fit, I'm moving on, right? So a soft disqualify would be to just ponder that, to express doubt about the fit, or to express maybe the potential for disqualification. So you can do that by saying things like, hey, I'm not sure if you guys need what we have. And this is the total opposite thing that a pushy salesperson says. A pushy salesperson will say, oh, you're going to love this, you got to see this, you're going to want this, it's going to be great, and so they're pushing. The consultative salesperson says something like, hey, I'm not sure if you're a good fit for what we do, or I don't know if you guys need what we provide. So this is totally disarming, because at this point your prospect is going to think, oh, there's two things they're going to think. They're going to start to see you as someone that's not going to push something on them that they don't need. They're going to see you as something that's looking out for their best interests, because you're wondering if they need it or not. They're going to see you as the total opposite of that pushy salesperson trying to push something on them. So it's going to build a little rapport, might build a little respect. It could also build curiosity. So if someone says, hey, I have something great, but I don't know if it's something that I can provide to you or not. Someone says something in that type of frame or context, then it might create curiosity, like, well, how do you know I'm not a fit? What do you have, So you're not going to get that type of verbal response from the prospect, but those are some of the thoughts that they might start to think. So it's pretty powerful. I'll show you when we go through an example of how this all fits together, where that shows up and how you say that. Moving on to the next challenge. So you have a lot of information to share and you only have a couple minutes. So it's very easy that you can make cold calls, and either right at the beginning of the call you don't know what to say, or there's certain situations in the call where you don't know what to say. And this could either be for two reasons. Either you have no idea what you should be saying when you're cold calling, or let's look at in the optimistic scenario, which is you have so much knowledge in your head, right? You're a salesperson, you're a business owner, you have products you want to sell. Those products have certain features that do certain things. It provides certain benefits. There's these different pricing packages that you want to explain to the person. You offer all these post-sale services and additional services and additional add-ons. You just have all this knowledge in your head, and now you have 2 to 5 minutes with a prospect. Where do you even begin? And I've been there, and like I said, especially when you sell complex products like technology or software, this is totally the case. And what that leads you to is like, you just don't know where to begin or what to say, and you end up just throwing a lot of product stuff out there. What we want to do is we want to make you communicate effectively and efficiently, and I'll show you how to do that. And in order to do that, let's look at what a typical salesperson might say when they're cold calling, or really when they're selling at all. They're going to talk about the company they work for. This is the product I sell. These are the features it has. This is how much it costs. And the goal in every conversation is to drive towards closing the sale, getting a new client, generating revenue, whatnot. Let's call that type of sales pitch product selling sales pitch, a product selling approach. Well, what we're going to show you here today is the SalesScripter type of sales pitch, and we could classify that more as consultative selling. And instead of talking about the product, we're going to talk about the benefits that the product offers. We're going to talk about common problems the product helps to decrease or resolve. We're going to ask good questions. At the core of our sales pitch is going to be good questions. We might talk about how we differ. We might share some examples. We might talk about ROI. And instead of our goal, in our cold call, instead of closing the sale, which a cold call is not the time to close a sale. I mean, there's not enough time to fully close the sale for the product. So the goal with our approach is starting the conversation. On the left side, the product selling pitch, this is what actually most salespeople do. Even if they think they're consultative selling, they kind of end up over here. And this is actually an easier approach because you already have all this knowledge about your company, because that's what you do every day. You already have a lot of product knowledge. So to go out and just anytime you're talking to a prospect, whether that's on a cold call or not, whenever you're out there to talk about your product, it's easy. There's less to think about, and you can improvise. To do all the stuff on the right, it's a little bit outside your comfort zone, and it's a little bit more difficult. We'll show you here how to make that easy, but you still have to kind of organize your thoughts, not necessarily before every cold call, but at least kind of stop your sales effort, organize your thoughts, and then go back to selling. There does require a little bit of thought and preparation, and we'll show you how to do that. It's not real complex, but a little bit of effort on time. So let me take you through how to organize your thoughts and to do what's on the right. And then after we do that, I'll show you how to piece all those pieces of information together to do cold calling easy and to do all those things such as communicate efficiently, decrease the prospect's guard, and whatnot. So if we start with your product, which is where the other approach kind of stays, and by the way, I'm going to go through an example here to build an example sales pitch. And I've used different examples in the past. I used to use, if you've seen some of our videos, I used to use a example of inventory management software, just a fictional product. And I've tried to actually just simplify and think of an example that almost everybody can relate to and understand. So it's a very simple product, and we're going to go through these steps. And the product is a gym membership. So I'm a salesperson selling gym memberships, and at our gym we have treadmills, we have weights, classes, personal training, we have a lap pool, sauna, steam room, yoga studio. So the product selling person is going to talk about all these things, show all these things when they're trying to sell. Okay. And by the way, I know that you typically wouldn't cold call for a gym membership, but we'll kind of try to twist the scenario so that this does fit with cold calling, but you should still be able to follow along. But that's the product. Now, if we take the product details and then we think about benefits, and this is the hardest part of what I'm going to take you through here, but if we can kind of just think about how does this product help the individual that I'm going to try to sell to? Well, if they use all these different features, then we could say that they might lose weight. They're going to get healthier. They're going to be able to get on a workout routine. They're going to transition to a healthier lifestyle. They might feel better. They might become more attractive. Wow, that's a pretty good selling point right there. They might improve their self-confidence, decrease their stress, become a happier person. So those are benefits. Those are the benefits that all those product details provide. So if you're only talking about the product, you're missing all that powerful stuff. So we have a pretty good list there of benefits. Now what we need to do is we need to think about the problems that we help to resolve for the prospect. And this process gets a little easier from here because we can look at each benefit. For each benefit that your product helps to make, there's typically an opposite problem that you help to resolve. So when you help someone to lose weight, that solves a problem that someone might need to lose weight and get in better shape. When you help someone to get healthier, they're not healthy and don't feel good because they're not healthy. It's difficult to get on a workout routine. They don't feel good and they get sick a lot because they're not healthy. They're not happy with their physical appearance. They don't have a good self-image and self-confidence. They're stressed and depressed. So we have a good list of problems there. Now, you could just either think, okay, what are the problems I fix? But this whole list here is the exact opposite of the benefits list. I looked at each benefit and I thought of what's the opposite, and the opposite are typically problems. So we have a good list of problems there. Now we need to come up with questions to ask the prospect. And I'm a firm believer the best salesperson is the one that asks the best questions. And you should be asking questions on your cold call. It's amazing. A lot of cold calls I get from salespeople, they never ask me any questions. They just want to sell, sell, sell. Asking questions totally improves your cold calling. It makes it more interactive. You gather good information from the prospect. You get them talking. You don't sound so pushy. You find a reason why to sell to them. So, but you may say, okay, well, I agree. I need to ask more questions, but what questions should I ask? And I can't tell you what questions you should ask, and I can't provide you a pre-built list of questions. There are some questions that every salesperson can ask, and I can give you those questions, but there's questions really specific to your product, and I can't tell you what those are. But here's what you can do. Look at that list of problems. For each problem, there's a question you could ask. If you help someone that needs to lose weight, how do you, and I think I changed the order of these to fit better with a cold call, but how do you feel about your physical appearance or level of fitness? How important is it for you to lose weight or get in better shape? Have you ever had difficulty getting into a workout routine? How do you feel about your overall level of health and generally feel on a daily basis? How do you describe your level of self-confidence? How often do you find yourself stressed or depressed? Those are great questions. Now, if I've kind of skipped all these steps and I'm selling the product, I'm saying, hey, we got the treadmills, we got a sauna, we got training, we got yoga classes. That's what a product selling person does. A consultative person's going to dig deep. They're going to ask these questions, really getting to the root. And think about if someone has some of these concerns and challenges and they tell you, yeah, I really just don't feel good about myself, and you haven't even gone to talk to them about the workout facility. You're really getting to some good stuff, and it's that good stuff that will help you to create your business case for why not just a business case for why you should sell the product, a business case for having a conversation. We're going through this sort of logical step-by-step process. The last step, we could think of an example. So, we're trying to talk to someone here about losing weight or getting in better shape. So we might think of an example about a 35-year-old man that we helped to lose 40 pounds. He ended up getting a new job, a new girlfriend, says that he's happier than he's ever been. What a great example. If you're talking to someone that happens to be in their mid-30s and they're a little bit overweight, what a great example to share with someone when you're trying to build interest. And now, after we've gone through all those steps, we can use all of that information to create a really good sales pitch. And if you look at the far left, that product column, if you recall, I talked about a lot of salespeople just have the product selling pitch. Our consultative selling pitch brings in all those other points. And whether you end up using this or not, I think it's safe for all of us to agree that using all of these points is a much better way to communicate with a prospect. And when I started this presentation, I shared with you that I'm not going to teach you trickery. We're not going to try to manipulate anybody. We're just going to try to communicate in an effective and efficient way. And that's what this sales pitch does. It doesn't try to trick someone into talking to us or trick someone into buying what we have to offer. It communicates effectively. It asks good questions. It helps the salesperson to learn about the prospect. It effectively builds interest if there's a genuine need there and a genuine fit. So this is the process that we go through, and all of this stuff can be used for you to create your cold call script and to create a good cold call script. And it's that good cold call script and this good sales pitch that can help make cold calling easy for you. Now, I want to show you that you can go through these steps in a Microsoft Word document and organize your thoughts, but SalesScripter can also help you with this, and I want to just show you a little bit of that real quick. So if I flip over to SalesScripter, you'll notice here that I'm in this place. There's this area in SalesScripter, which SalesScripter is a web-based application that will help you to build your sales pitch. And so there's a feature in here called Sales Pitch Builder. And if I just go through this real quick, I actually went through SalesScripter to create those points that I used for the gym membership. And if I just show you this real quick, so you have one of my sales pitches in here is gym membership for people looking to lose weight. And if I go through this, SalesScripter will actually take you through those different steps of brainstorming the benefits that you offer, and then that leading you to brainstorming a list of pain points, and then that can take you through a workflow of questions, helping you to brainstorm the questions that you ask. So SalesScripter takes you through this very structured process. Now I do want to point out, like I said, you can organize your thoughts and do all that in a Microsoft Word document and not use this formal software application. There's two reasons why you might want to use a tool like SalesScripter and why it can help you and be better than using a Microsoft Word document. First of all, as you're answering all those questions in the sales pitch builder, all your answers are going to link to a library of documents here in the sales playbook. So every time you answer each question in the sales pitch builder, your answers are then linked to fill in a call script. You actually get a lot of different versions of cold call scripts, but here we're talking about making cold calling easy. Well, if you have a guide of what to say and ask when you're making cold calls, then it's going to definitely be a lot easier. So here's basically a cold call script for selling that product that we created, the gym memberships. That same cold call script can actually be accessed in a different format, which we call an interactive view, and this is that exact same call script, and this is just displayed in a view that you could use when you're making cold calls, and it's sort of a tool to tell you what to say next when you're on the call. So again, our goal here is to make it easy. So having this up in front of you when you're on a call, you need to jump to your questions, you need to jump to some pain points to share with the prospect. You can have those with just clicking on another button. So like I said, you'll get a lot of different cold call scripts. You're also going to get some meeting scripts. But one thing you also get, that sales pitch, if you think about all those points that we organized, right? Benefits and pain points and questions, we can also use all those really powerful points to create email templates. So SalesScripter also will provide you with a library of emails. So you see here pre-call emails, and like here's one focusing on pain points. So if I just show you that real quick, all those pain points about not being happy with your physical appearance, get in better shape, those are all great things to email to somebody. So the product selling salesperson will send an email that says, I work for this company, we sell this, I'm emailing you to see if I can schedule a meeting with you to talk to you about this, or do you need this? I get those emails all the time. Instead of sending a product selling email, send a consultative selling email that focuses on the problems that you help to fix, or the benefits that you'll help them to realize. And what we can also do in SalesScripter, I want to actually go back. In the beginning of this presentation, I mentioned something that we're not really going to talk about is a problem that you experience is just connecting with someone, getting on the cold call, and then we're focused on what happens when they answer your call. Well, either getting engaged or getting them on the phone, email is going to be a very important tool for you, as you know, especially in today's day and age where people don't answer their phone. So what we do to help with that is we create really good pre-call emails. Also, you have a post-call emails and post-voicemail email templates in here as well. So these will help you with getting connected. Maybe the prospect never answers your phone and you end up interacting over email. Well, this process and this tool will help you with that. Now, one thing that we do that's fairly unique is that since we create lots of different versions of your pre-call emails because of those different columns, each column that we went through, whether it's benefits, pain points, example, questions, each of those can be used to create a different email. So that's really good when someone doesn't reply to your email. You can send them a different email as your follow-up. We've actually done the work of creating those follow-up emails when someone doesn't reply in something that we call a pre-call thread. And so if I show you what this looks like, here's a pre-call thread, and it's all these individual emails tied together. So email 1 is a value message, email 2 is a pain message, email 3 is an name drop example message. And so this thread has basically 6 different emails with a last attempt email at the end. We've done all the work of tying all those together so you have kind of your follow-up language, and we have some recommended scheduling for you, but you can use whatever frequency and timing that you want. Now, what we also do is you could certainly just copy all these and paste them into your CRM, or just manually send them out through your whatever you use for email. we'll actually send all these emails out through the SalesScripter for you. So if you click send email, you can actually send these emails. You can make some changes. You enter your your prospect information, their email address, and click send. Now the cool thing about this delivery feature, I mean, if you're just sending one email and you can just copy and paste and send it out of your email system, whatever you're using, there's not a lot of benefit when you're just sending one email. But this really comes in handy when you're sending an email thread, because we're going to automate and schedule out all those future emails. So everything I'm showing you right here deals with one challenge that I actually said we weren't going to talk about, but here we are talking about it. But it's important, is that probably one of the biggest challenges you have is getting prospects on the phone or just getting connected and engaged. This is functionality that helps with that challenge. So good email templates, multiple emails that are designed to go out to a prospect over time, and the big bonus there is automating that, so you can just send the first one and you don't worry about the others. It's kind of a drip process. So like I said, you can organize your thoughts in a Microsoft Word document. You can do that for free. It's a little bit more, probably more organized using this system. But the real benefit is that once you've organized your thoughts, then you have to create your messaging. So you'd have to manually create your call script. You'd have to manually create your email templates. We also give you voicemail scripts and a whole bunch of other documents. So then the nice thing about brainstorming and organizing your thoughts in our sales pitch builder, we might actually help you to get better points by doing it in a structured way. But the real big bonus there is that all of your stuff is then used to basically fill out a library of documents. So after you've done your brainstorming, you just get a bunch of great stuff. And the next and last challenge that we're going to talk about is when we call prospects, we get them on the phone, it's extremely likely, probably most likely, that they're not in buying mode. They're not sitting there wanting someone to call them to sell what we sell. That's a very safe assumption. It's not to say they don't need it or they don't want it. Probably what's most likely is that you're going to call a lot of prospects that genuinely don't need what you sell, and maybe those are people you shouldn't sell to. But a lot of prospects that you reach do need what you sell, but honestly, they won't know that they need it. For example, there's a concept of pain that we're talking about, but there's also what we call latent pain, which means someone has pain, but they don't know it. It's sort of like if you think about driving a car around with your gas tank leaking and you don't know it. You have to go fill up your gas more frequently, but you think that that's normal. So you actually have a problem and you have pain and you're paying more for gas and you're going to the gas station more frequently, wasting time, but you don't know it. And so it might take someone to point out to say, how frequently are you going to fill up your tank, and do you see any liquid on the ground when you get in your car and drive away or in your garage? So that's what we call latent pain. So a lot of people that you reach are not going to be in buying mode, and it's because they don't either know that they need what you have and they do need it, or they're just not thinking about it at that particular time. So that's a big challenge, because that's probably, like I said, one of the most likely scenarios. And when that happens, that's when you hear people say things like this: I'm not interested, we don't have budget right now, we aren't looking at making any changes, we already used somebody for that, call me back in X months, just send me your information. Those are things you're going to hear. Those are objections. Those are objections that the prospect will say to end the call, to get off the phone with you. Again, our goal here is to talk about making cold calling easy. So what the average salesperson does is they don't really think about these ahead of time. When they hear this, they try to talk about their product again. So if someone says, I'm not interested, they try to talk about their product to make that person interested. By the way, that's trying to overcome the objection, which is someone's not interested. I'm going to try to resolve that by making them interested. It's a very difficult thing to do in a cold call where you have 2 to 5 minutes to work with. So we would recommend going a different way. But the key thing here is that if you want cold calling to be easier, do this one thing: prepare for objections. If you were only going to do one thing, if you're only going to remember one thing from this presentation, it would be this. If you were only going to do one thing, I would say make a list of objections that you think are going to come up and prepare for those. Think about ahead of time how you're going to respond to those. It's similar to like an athlete who, let's say, maybe might play football and be a quarterback. If you're prepared for the defense that you're facing and you can look at it and know what to do next and how to respond really quickly, you're going to enjoy playing much more, and you're going to be more successful, first of all, but the game is going to be easier because you're going to know which way to go and which way to turn. If you go into the game without preparation, you're going to, in football terminology, you're going to get sacked a lot. You're going to get knocked down. You're going to get beaten up. And that's not going to be fun. It's going to hurt, and it's going to seem difficult. So if you want to make cold calling easy, prepare for the defense that you're going to face. And it's very easy to do. There's only so many objections that you're going to face, and this is about half of them right here. It's probably a list of about 10. Now, one mindset that I want you to have as you start to think about how to respond to these is that instead of trying to sell the product, which would be to make someone interested or to talk to someone about why they make sure they don't have budget, let me just show you this, which is instead of selling the product, which is again what that product selling person does, I want you to sell the meeting. So this is sort of a mindset shift. Now, if we look at the sales process that we're trying to go through, there's a few steps before we sell the product, and we want to take the prospect through these steps. So the first step might be the cold call, which is when we're dealing with this objection. We're at step 1 when someone says we don't have budget to spend. And so our goal is to get to step 2, which is the meeting, appointment, conversation. So if we sell that instead of the product, that gives us a mindset of how to think, how to respond to those objections. And let me give you an example. So if someone says we don't have budget right now, that's a valid objection if I'm selling a product. If you don't have money, then I can't sell my product, and you're right, it doesn't make sense for us to move any further in discussions. But if my goal is to sell the meeting, then the objection that you don't have budget is invalid. That's not a reason for us not to meet. That's a reason that you can't buy my product. I'm not necessarily wanting you to buy my product. I want to meet. So let me turn that into an objection response. Someone says, well, we don't have budget to spend. Hey, I understand, and listen, I want you to know I'm not reaching out to sell anything to you right now. I don't even know if you guys are a good fit. That's an optional disqualify, by the way. So I don't know if you guys are a good fit. What I'd like to do actually is I'm reaching out to basically begin the conversation. I'd like to learn a little bit more about what you guys are doing, share a little bit more information about us. I understand you don't have budget right now, but I'd like to start the conversation. That way, when you're doing your budget planning for next year, you can either consider us and think about how we might want to fit in there, or based on what we talk about, maybe you'll know that we should not be considered in that budget planning, and you can identify that through our brief conversation. So like I said, we don't want to take too much of your time, and certainly we're not going to invest a whole lot of our time. We'll go into it knowing that you don't have budget right now. Our goal is to start the conversation. Is that something we can put on the calendar? You could kind of close in that way. So I know I just threw a mouthful out at you, and if you like that and you want to copy it word for word, that's great. The key thing to basically start to talk like that for yourself, and that response works for just send me your information, or we're not making any changes right now. But the way to start to talk like that without just copying what I'm saying word for word is to realize that you're not selling the product, you're selling the meeting. So push back when someone says we don't need what you sell, or we're not interested. If they say we're not interested, I would reply to a different response, which might be going back to asking some of my pre-qualifying questions. To show you how we could help you with objections in a little bit more detail, I could actually go back to SalesScripter, by the way. So SalesScripter is going to provide you with what we call an objections map, which is all of those objections and more that I just kind of shared with you, and SalesScripter is going to actually give you responses for those. The reason that we're able to automatically produce these responses for you is that with our methodology, we don't want you to sell the product. We want you to basically, if someone gives you an objection, we want you to redirect the conversation back to some section of your call script. So you see here for this objection, it says redirect to your qualifying questions. In some of these other responses, it says redirect back to your value statement, response. So what we're doing is we're pointing the objection response back to different parts of the cold call script, and this tool is able to actually make all these responses for you. We can actually display these responses in our cold call script. In this interactive view, you have these buttons over here, and these are all your objections, and this is all customizable too if you want to add more objections to this. But when you click on these, you basically get a response that you can say to each objection. So again, our goal here is to make cold calling easy. So to do that, you want to be prepared for objections. Step one is to make it easy. SalesScripter will help you with building those responses, and it'll also help you with putting those right in front of you and making it easy for you to access those when you're on a cold call. So again, hopefully that makes cold calling easy for you. Now, to kind of put all that together, I showed you how to build your sales pitch. By the way, that sales pitch is more than a call script. A call script is just one piece of your sales pitch. Your sales pitch can impact everything you say at any different moment. So it can impact what you say when you're networking, on your what you put on your website, what you say in a voicemail message, what you say in an email message. So that sales pitch gives you can do a lot with that. Now, the call script is just one piece of that. Let me show you how I would take all the different points that I brainstormed in front of you and put that together to create a call script, and how you can navigate that call script again to make cold calling easy. So if I go through these different sections here, I'll just show you. On the right side is basically the different pieces that I organized when I was building the sales pitch. So I'll go through each step with you. We open the call with some sort of introduction. Hello, Mary. This is Michael Halper calling from Max Gym. Have I caught you in the middle of anything? So again, there's that disarming question, and you'll notice there that if I were to say, this is Michael Halper calling from Max Gym, how are you doing today? I'm going to sound like some cheesy salesperson. If I say, have I caught you in the middle of anything, it's very casual, very familiar, very friendly. And then, like I said, you're going to get only 3 responses here. Let's say that she gives us the worst response, which is, no, I'm not available. Then we can respond very easily with, oh, okay, no problem. I could be extremely brief, or I can call you back at another time. So that's one of our objection responses for I'm busy right now. Now, if she says, no, I'm okay, no, I'm not, I'm fine, then we move on to the next step, which you see the arrow here pointing to the next stage, elevator pitch. Let's say she doesn't say yeah, okay, and she doesn't say no. Let's say she says something like, well, it depends, what do you have? Or what are you calling about? If she says that, we still move forward to the next step. So the key thing there is that the only time we don't move forward is if she says, I'm in the middle of something, or I'm busy, and at that point we say, I can be brief, or I can call you back. So pretty easy to know which you're only going 2 directions from there. So then if we move forward, we're in the elevator pitch. This is where we want to deliver just a little bit of info to build interest and to let them know what we're calling about. So in this example, I say I'm delivering basically my value proposition. So hey, great, the reason why I'm reaching out to you is we help individuals to create personal benefits like losing weight, getting healthier, transitioning to a healthier lifestyle, feel better. And so that's my value proposition. Notice that I'm not saying anything about the product there. I'm not saying, hey, we have a gym, it's really nice, and I want you to come look at it. So I'm sharing value there. You could also share pain points at that point. So you could say, hey, the reason why I'm reaching out to you is I work with people and I help them to work through challenges like being overweight, not as healthy as they want to be, and not having as much self-confidence as they would like. So you can do this exact same thing and either share improvements, benefits, or you can share pain points. It's kind of, you deliver in the same way, but it's just coming at from a different angle. We also came up with a name drop example when we did our brainstorming of our pitch. You could share that here too. You could say, hey, the reason why I'm reaching out to you is I recently worked with a 35-year-old male, and you could share that example, and you could say, hey, I helped him to transition to a healthier life. I don't know if that's something that you're going through. So depending on the scenarios, how you'd want to share that example, but here is a place in your cold call script that you could share an example for sure and use that as a way to open the call. Now I'm going to move on to this next stage, which is disqualify statements. So this is our soft disqualify, and this is where, so we just shared our value proposition. Now we're going to do a little takeaway. And so I'm going to say, hey, but you know what? I don't know if I can help you in the same way or not. So again, this is very disarming. So this is where a pushy salesperson is going to say, you're going to love it. You got to see this. I'm doing the exact opposite. I'm saying, hey, but you know what? I don't know if it would make sense for you. So doing a slight takeaway, disarming, maybe building curiosity. Now it's just one statement, and then we move on to the next step. Now we're going to ask some questions. So we basically shared improvements we can make for them. We took it away maybe that we don't want to provide it to them or can't provide it to them. Now we're going to ask them some questions, and these are our pre-qualifying questions, our probing sales questions. How do you feel about this? How important is it for you to do this? Now our goal here is probably to ask somewhere between 1 to 3 questions, and what we're looking for is to get at least 1 to 3 real positive answers. Positive would be a match. So if your question is probing for pain, a match would be that the prospect has either that concern, that problem, or maybe they're not sure. So those are potential matches. Not a negative response would be that they don't have that pain and they're not concerned about it in the slightest. So if you ask one question and you get a match, technically you could move on to the next stage without asking any of your other questions, because you don't have to ask all these questions. You're just trying to determine, is there a potential fit, and one answer, good answer, could tell you that. Now you might be advanced and say you might get one good answer, and you still might want to ask another question, just have 2 good answers. That's kind of up to you. Now if you ask one question and you get a negative answer, then you can move on to the next question, and you get another negative answer. Then you could you ask like 2 or 3 questions. Now there is a scenario where you ask 2 or 3 questions and you get all negative answers, right? And then you're going to begin to head in the direction of disqualifying this person. So you see there's 2 arrows here. If we get good answers, we can skip the next stage, which is common pain points. If we get good answers, we move on to the box that says brief company and product info. I'm going to show you what that is. Think of that as the pre-close section, which is basically you're going to share right before you go for the close. You're going to share a little information about you to try to create just a little bit of interest. So you can skip ahead if you get good answers. But let's say that we don't get any good answers. All of the answers to our questions are fairly neutral to negative. Then we can move to the next section, which is sharing common problems. So this is where we might say something. Let's say we get 3 negative answers. We might share something with them at this point to say, oh, okay, well, I don't know. It sounds like you're doing pretty good. But so when I talk to a lot of individuals your age and at your place in life, they often express challenges with they need to get healthier. They don't feel good in general. They don't have a lot of energy. They're not happy with their physical appearance. Are you saying that you're good in all of those areas? And so what we've done here is the questions we created, we're looking for pain or concerns that we can help to decrease, or areas where they might have interest in creating improvements. Now, if we didn't uncover anything, this is where we can just get very direct. We can say, these are the things I fix. Do you have any of these? It's almost like a doctor saying, do you have any of these symptoms? And it's more direct. Technically, you could just have this, you could go straight to this in your call script, but asking the questions is a more consultative and interactive way to get there, and a way to uncover maybe more information than you would if you just went direct. But since we just got no answers to really work with to our questions, we just go direct. At this point, the prospect could either confirm or say no. So they might, let's say they say no. So if they say no, no, I'm good in those areas, you'll notice there's a few arrows here. There's an arrow that goes back to the questions. So maybe if you just don't want to give up, then you ask them, if they have any of these pain points, and they say, no, I'm good in all those. You could go back. Maybe there was a question that you did not get to. So you didn't get anything by asking them directly of pain, so go back and ask them another question. But you'll notice there's also an arrow that goes to the close box. So if they don't have any pain, you've asked them all your questions, you could disqualify them, formally disqualify them, to say, well, I don't know, it sounds like you're pretty good. You probably don't need any of the things that we offer and don't need any of the help that we deliver. So I'm going to let you get back to your day. Thank you for talking to me. Have a great day. So you basically could close. Now you'll see there's an arrow here that goes to the box that says brief company and product info. That's where if the prospect says, yes, that last problem you mentioned there is something I've thought about before. So, or you reach to this box after you ask some good ask your questions and get a good answer. So let's show you what this looks like. This is where you begin to talk about your product and your company. Now notice, remember, the product selling person, this is all they do. They call up and they do cold calling difficult. We're talking about doing cold calling easy here. The difficult cold calling is where all you do is talk about your product and people are resistant and want to get rid of you and don't want to hear anything about it and they're not interested. So what we've done here is we've pushed that all the way to the bottom of the cold call. We've done it in the exact opposite of what your typical salesperson does. And what we've done here is we've built interest, we've triggered curiosity, we've asked some good questions, we've uncovered that they might need what you have, and at this point you can then share some information of how you help. So let's say the person said, yeah, I don't have a lot of energy and I don't really feel great, to be honest with you. Okay, well, we might be able to help you with that. I'd like to learn a little bit more about you, but there could be a fit. The reason why is I'm with Gym Max, and we basically help people to transition to a healthier lifestyle. We get them on a better in a exercise routine. We have classes to help, nutrition classes, yoga classes, and so that's why I'm reaching out to you. And so at this point, you could share all sorts of detail. You could share some details about the product. You could go back to the benefits you offer. You could talk about the ROI. You could share some examples and whatnot. So, but the key here is that you don't have to go into a whole explanation and build enough interest that the prospect buys what you sell. Remember, the goal is to get to the next stage. So we need to build enough interest so we can close on the next stage. So if the next stage is a meeting, which if I were selling a gym membership, this might be them coming out and taking a tour. I don't need to build enough interest to where they sign up for the gym. I need to build enough interest so they come out for a tour. So you could spend a couple minutes here, and then you'll see here you can then advance to the close, which is to say something like, hey, but I've called you out of the blue. What I'd like to do is I'd like to learn more about you. And maybe share with you see if there's some things that we can help you with in terms of your goals. Can we schedule a brief 15 to 20 minute meeting? So here's where you're going for the close for either the appointment or the conversation, the next step. Now you'll notice that there's some arrows that go back up to the script, which the reason why is because at this point you might not be able to close, and it might be due to getting some sort of objection or the prospect is just not agreeing to close. Well, if the prospect, so let's say the prospect says, oh, I'm not interested. Well, you could go back up to your questions. Maybe there were some questions that you didn't ask. So let's say you asked one or two questions and then you progressed and worked to the close, but you have 4 questions. Well, you go back up and say, oh, okay, I understand. Let me ask you, there was something I didn't really get to, but how do you, regarding your self-confidence when you're out there meeting new people, how do you feel about yourself? When you look in the mirror, how do you feel about yourself? So you go back up and ask another question. You're keeping the conversation going. You might end up working your way back to the close again. The thing here is that what you don't want to do, let's look at the 2 extremes. I'm not telling you to keep the prospect on the line and on the phone and try to close 10 different ways. That's going to make someone annoyed. You're going to damage rapport. Even if you were to close them on your 10th try, they're probably going to be more annoyed and just agreeing to meet because you won't get off the phone with them. So that's one extreme that I wouldn't do if I were you. The other extreme is trying to close once or getting one objection and then accepting it and ending the call. What you want to do is you'd want to deal with objections or not a lack of ability to close 2 or 3 different ways, And then if you've tried 2 or 3 different times to close the prospect and you still can't close them, then you agreed, to move on. This is where you could either tell yourself or tell your manager, I gave it a good try, I did what I could, and this prospect wasn't having any of it. So this is where if you close, you can't, you go back up, ask some more questions, or you could go back to your pain points. Maybe you asked some questions and then you tried to close, but you never really were real direct with the pain points, so you could go back. And you'll notice that I told you that SalesScripter can give you objection responses because we redirect you back to different sections of your script, and that's how we can give you all the different ways to respond to objections. And this is an example of how to do that. So if you get I'm not interested or I'm not available or whatever, you can always just go back to something that's already in your cold call script. So that is the close. Now hopefully that all of that will make cold calling easy for you. That's kind of how it works. A little bit more information on us. We basically provide what we call the SMART sales system. And so SMART stands for sales messaging. So you'll notice I told you a lot of other systems out there and tools and training programs, they don't teach you what to say. They don't teach you what to do. We do. The words that a salesperson uses, whether they're said or written in an email or left on a voicemail, that's your best sales tool. So why not get the most out of that sales tool by having a good sales pitch and knowing what to say instead of improvising or just talking about your product. So our system helps you to figure out what best to say and how to respond to different questions and objections, and we deliver that through tactics. It's not some big picture thing that's very tough to digest. We give you, when you get this objection, do this. When you open a call, do this. So it's very tactic. It's a methodology that's very built around tactics, true tactics. So you can use the system in 3 different ways. One is our sales methodology. So everything that I showed you here today is part of a full sales prospecting methodology. So you can access actually for free our sales methodology on YouTube. This screenshot here is actually from a playlist, and you could actually Google search this YouTube search this playlist. It says Smart Sales System Training Program, and there's like 20-something videos that you could go watch from beginning to end for free. You can also access our methodology and learn our tactics through free ebooks on our website, or you could buy a paperback book that I wrote called The Cold Calling Equation Problem Solved. By the way, that book, the good thing about the book, it's $15, but the good thing about the book is that you get a paperback copy, so you can highlight, you can dog ear, you can have it on your desk. It's written in a way to where it's like more like a reference manual, and so there's a chapter on objections, there's a chapter on gatekeepers, there's a chapter on asking good questions. So you don't have to read it straight through. You can flip to a particular chapter that you're having trouble with. And if you're a sales manager and you like this approach and methodology, if you wanted to spend the bare minimum, buy each team person on your team a copy of that book and put it on their desk. I mean, that should definitely help you to improve things. So, but the majority of our methodology is given away for free through recorded videos. You can hire us to deliver live training virtually or in person, and we can customize our training for you as well. So the reason why a lot of that's given away for free is that our primary business model is to get people that appreciate what we do to use our software. Meaning, if you want to build a sales pitch and you want to help with your creating good documents and help with prospecting, and you like our approach, then you should probably check out our software. Like I said, you could build your pitch in like a Word document and organize your thoughts, but you're going to be able to do it easier and better, and then get a whole library of tools and documents at the same time through our software. So it makes that whole process a lot easier. In addition, not only do we give you dozens of email templates, but we'll also automate and help you, and our software will send those emails and automate future emails and email drip campaigns and their CRM functionality and whatnot. But that's where we hope to help you for free as much as we can. And then when you want to go to the next level, our business is focused on getting you using our software. And then the third leg of the stool is sales consulting. So we can work with you on building your pitch, looking at your scripts that you're using, helping you to build better scripts and build better pitches, help you to build out your sales process. And so we work with managers and businesses from a sales consulting standpoint. We certainly work with sales people that are on the front lines from a coaching standpoint, either on a recurring basis or helping them to organize their pitch and work through challenges and work through different scenarios. So the way that we see things is that by us helping you to create clarity around what to say and do, whether that's for yourself or for your team, we're going to help you to be smart. And by getting you to have clarity for what to say, a lot of that is going to be asking good questions. And so by asking good questions, you're actually going to appear smart. So even if you don't increase your skill level and your level of intelligence at all, if you go from talking about the product to asking your client good questions, you're going to appear smarter. I mean, imagine being that gym salesperson and gym membership salesperson, and instead of talking about treadmills, you're talking about someone's level of self-confidence. They're going to be blown away. They're going to be like, "Man, are you a psychiatrist?" I mean, in a good way. You're going to be digging deep, and so even you're going to seem on a scale from 1 to 10, you're going to seem like a 9 or 10 in terms of level of intelligence, and all you've done is just created a good list of probing questions to ask. By appearing smart, and asking those good questions, you're going to make a good impression with the prospects that you talk to. You're also going to gather more information by asking good questions, and so by having good information, you're going to be able to make better decisions with which prospects you sell to. So instead of spending time sending emails and calling people that really don't need what you sell, and jumping on the plane to go give a presentation to someone who really you shouldn't be doing that to, you're going to know which prospects to jump on the plane and go fly to meet, because you're going to ask good questions, which is going to give you good information. And you're going to be able to make decisions, like I said, with who to jump on the plane to, and that's going to make you wiser in terms of how you manage your time, which will help you to get the most out of each day and each week. And you might think, yeah, it's good. It's good. I have 10 meetings this week, but if 5 of those meetings are garbage and a waste of your time, then you'd be better off having 5 meetings and not wasting that time, spending that time finding better prospects. So by being smart, you're going to position yourself basically to be more successful. Your job's going to be easier. You're going to make more money. And in reality, your job is going to be less stressful because you're going to be having better interactions. You're going to be having more leads. You're not going to be dealing with getting beat up by objections as much. So that's really how we see one of the reasons why we call this the smart sales system is basically we're going to make you smart. And it's going to have all those impacts on you. And so the question is do you want to be smart or not so smart? If you have salespeople that work for you, do you want your salespeople to be smart, or you want them to be not so smart? So we can definitely help them to be smart. And how our stuff is priced from a pricing standpoint, our software is $49 per user per month. You actually get a 40% discount if you do the annual subscription. And the reason why we have such a big discount on the annual subscription is we have a lot of people that use our software to create a script and then they cancel, and you could certainly do that. You use our software, get a bunch of documents, download them and cancel, and you can pay only $49. By the way, if you were to walk into a bookstore and see a book on the shelf for your product and your industry, and it said call scripts, voicemail scripts, email templates, objection responses, and more, and it's $49, and you could buy off the bookshelf everything that our software gives you, and it only costs $49, you would be flipping out, and you would probably pay $500 for that book. But you can actually get it for $49. And and you just have to spend a little bit of time answering the questions, but you get all that, and so it's a pretty good deal. The one of the reasons why it's so economical is that there's reasons why you'd want to use our software ongoing, whether it's the email automation or the CRM functionality, or using some of the tools that we have to access while you're making cold calls, like our interactive display. There's reasons to keep your account ongoing, so that's why it's so economical, just at $49 for a month, and and that's why we offer a discount if you want to subscribe for the year. We do offer a service called a Scripter walkthrough. So, I outline those steps that you should go through with identifying benefits, pain points, and questions and whatnot, and that's what the software will take you through. And so we provide a service where I'm the one who actually does it. I'll meet with you for 2 hours, and we'll go through your account in the software and answer every question together, and it's only $200. So those are really productive, because I usually am a pretty big help with my clients when we're brainstorming those points. I can usually help them to think about benefits that they wouldn't have thought of. I can help them to word stuff in a more concise, not so salesy type of way, and it's really productive. So like I said, you add that together with 1 month subscription, like I said, $250, and you get a whole library, like a whole book of documents just specific for your product. So it's pretty good value, and so that's pretty much it. Here's my contact info. If you have any questions, feel free to email me directly, and would be glad to help you in any way. Let me see if there's any questions real quick.